Jukebox becoming Kanan's main antagonist, and if not the main antagonist, at least she would be like a side antagonist in regards to Kanan's story, especially after the death of Marvin, after Rock leaves the picture, Lou leaves the picture, and especially after Ghost and Tommy come into the picture. The reason why we need to discuss this video, the reason why I'm making this video is because I feel like a lot of people are maybe overlooking some things when it comes to the complexities of Jukebox's and Kanan's relationship, especially from what we've seen in the OG Power timeline as far as Jukebox and Kanan's relationship. And the fact that the writers will definitely make it so that the Jukebox that we've seen and the way she was with Kanan in the OG Power series will be displayed as far as to how did they get there during the course of raising Kanan for whatever we got left in the series, and also when it comes to Power Origins, because Jukebox will definitely be a part of that as well, because there's a lot of story left for her. And of course, people like Marvin, Lou, Rock, they all have to be gone, right? So without further ado, let's get to it. Now, the reason why I say Jukebox will become Kanan's main antagonist, and at least if not that, one of the people who gives Kanan the most trouble, even if it's not in the streets, but more importantly, mentally and psychologically, is for the fact of this. You've seen who Jukebox was in the OG Power series, whereas she was somebody who was very manipulative of Kanan, right? In a way where she could persuade Kanan to move a certain kind of way. Now, she doesn't exactly have that effect on Kanan now. Kanan is always going to be his own man. But she will really become like an antagonist. Like, she will really start resembling the boogeyman, the bad guy that she was in OG Power, after Rock is out of the picture, and Marvin is out of the picture, and Lou is out of the picture, and when we see Breeze is around and Ghost and Tommy is around. Now, the reason why I say those things have to fall in line first, including Jukebox has to go to the military first and then come home. And when she comes home, I believe is when she probably may never meet Breeze, right? Because Breeze is probably going to be a recluse. But she's definitely going to come home and then meet Tommy and Ghost, which partly leads her to being an antagonist, is for the simple fact of this. Jukebox isn't dark enough yet. Jukebox has to lose Marvin. And then Kanan is not vulnerable enough yet. Kanan has to lose Rock. Both of these people have to be gone. And with those two people gone, even if Lou is still alive, Lou's not really a factor, because Lou doesn't even want to be in the drug business or in the murder business at all, right? Plus the fact that Lulu is going to be gone. So then once Marvin is gone, Jukebox will likely go to military school, right? Even people like Rock will encourage her, like, yo, listen, you don't want to be a part of this? Go ahead and leave, because this shit is hot. And then it's possible that if Rock is not gone by the time Jukebox leaves for military school, she will be dead or disappear while Jukebox is gone, thus leaving Kanan alone. Once Kanan is alone, then he has the influence of Snaps and Pop if they're around, but I feel like they're not going to make it out of season 4. But you definitely will have Breeze who's around. And then we're very, very close. We may even be months within the Raising Kanan timeline before Kanan finally runs into Ghost and Tommy and their whole thing develops, which I'm once again predicting Jukebox will be in the military. And by the time Jukebox comes home, she will have been scorned from whatever she'd been through in the military. On top of the fact that she lost Marvin, she lost Rock, Lulu's probably going to be gone. Jukebox will view Kanan, rightfully so, as the only family she has left. The only family she has left. This will make her very possessive, right? Very mentally abusive, just like the likes that we seen her be with Kanan in the OG Power series. Y'all seen the effect that she had on Kanan and why it led to Kanan having to kill her. Not only will Kanan be the only family that Jukebox has left, but Jukebox will be the only family that Kanan has left, thus giving her that power over him, right? Because she's so used to Rock being this domineering presence, right? This strong woman in his life. He will allow Jukebox to become this woman. Thus, once she's home and she recognizes that Kanan has this life without her, she will decide for herself that, hey, Kanan, I don't want this for you. You could do better than this. I don't trust these people, right? We will see Jukebox come home from the military, meet young Ghost and Tommy, and she will be involved somehow, some way in what they have going on. Even though I doubt she will be involved with drugs. But she will either be home, hitting licks with them because she's going to need a way to make money. I believe that we will see Jukebox come home at a time where she's home from the military, she's gone from the military, she lost her family, right? She doesn't believe she deserves love. She doesn't trust anybody to love them because she's due for another heartbreak. She will be somebody who was in a transitional phase in between a couple years of her coming home, dealing with Kanan and young Ghost and Tommy, and then her ultimately deciding to go to DC, right, and become an officer and join the academy before becoming an officer, which will not happen until Kanan is in prison already for about 2 years. So she will have time to really be around Ghost and Tommy, right? After she comes home from the military. Now also, we have to take into account the fact that it's 91, 92, 93 within the Raising Kanan timeline. Jukebox would have to graduate from high school first and have a diploma before she goes to the military. So that means she's already 18, as was verified by Marvin the end of last season. She's already 18. That means she's in her very last year of high school. Around the time where she completes high school, bad things are going to happen. Bad things are going to happen. Maybe she leaves before Marvin goes, maybe not. But she's going to leave, and then it takes minimum of 2 years to serve in the military. So if it's 92, she won't come home till at least 94, right? By that time, Kanan has already begun to get familiar with young Ghost and Tommy. If it's 93 in the timeline already, she will not come home till at least 95. But I'm predicting that she will probably do 2 to 4 years. I believe it's a maximum of 6 years of service. I don't believe she's going to take up the whole 6. I believe there's a minimum of 2, maximum of 4. So now, if she leaves and the timeline is 1993, that means she will come home in 1997. By that time, Kanan is well over 20 years old. In 96, Ghost and Tommy meet Breeze, and then they really become a real like team as far as Breeze at the very top, Kanan's the underboss, and Ghost and Tommy are right under them with Ghost and Tommy having their plans to come up in the game. Around that time is when Jukebox comes home and she is jealous of the relationship that Kanan has with these other people because she is home. She's still grieving in her own way. She missed a lot of time out with Kanan. And then in the process of this, Kanan will also become a young father. Famous is going to be gone. There's a lot of things that will contribute to Jukebox not only being jealous of all the other people who are in Kanan's life, but also her feeling like she wants to have some kind of authority over Kanan, because if you have a big sister, even though Jukebox is Kanan's cousin, she was raised by Rock and instructed to deal with him and raise as if she's his big sister. We all know, if we have big sisters, including myself, that your sister acts like your mom. Your sister is always going to want to tell you what to do, right? Your sister is always going to want to meddle in the things that you got going on. Thus, towards the end of raising Kanan, right, going into Power Origins, when they tell the main Kanan story, we will have Jukebox either come home. We will have Jukebox come home around this time where Kanan has all this going on, and she will begin to meddle. She will begin to have a mental effect on Kanan that has him questioning himself and has him not so sure of himself. And I believe that those things that Jukebox done to him is the reason why he was able to be so manipulative and confuse someone like Ghost and get him to kill Roller. And I'm calling it right now. Season 4 is the season where Jukebox finally puts hands, feet, and teeth, and maybe even a knife, on Kanan for acting tough. The reason why I'm making this video is because I thought about the escalation of the conflicts between Jukebox and Kanan over the previous 3 seasons. And it has already become physical if you paid attention to their most recent argument. I'm going to explain the situation or situations that may cause this argument and how this fight is going to go and how this fight will likely result in Kanan finally receiving the scar on his neck from Jukebox. This video is for show. Gonna be another banger. So without further ado, let's get to it. All right, now y'all, let's break it down like this. We can see in OG Power that there's a multitude of reasons why Kanan and Jukebox were estranged. For one, Kanan was locked up for 10 years. For 2, Jukebox was a cop. Those are the 2 most obvious things. Everything else is more subtle and not so obvious. Other things come into play, like Jukebox's controlling nature, which she inherited from Rock, while also having her "I'll do anything for my family" nature that she inherited from Marvin. She has this big sister nature of "I'm going to tell you what to do and you need to listen to me because I know what's best for you," in which we have seen time and time again over the previous 3 seasons of Raising Kanan. We got Kanan, who will always and has always been the reluctant, "I'm going to do things on my own. I'm going to do things my way. I'm not going to let you women boss me around," right? That complex that he has with the women in his life. And we have already seen 2 or 3 arguments that could have went there between Kanan and Jukebox already. But as I tell you how it escalated from the first to the most recent argument from them, you will understand that the next time they get into it for real, it is most likely going to turn physical, and not only physical, but bloody. And when I say bloody, I mean both of them will bleed, and it will result in Kanan receiving his scar. So now, let's start off like this. The very first argument that happened between Kanan and Jukebox was in season 1, when Kanan was still very green, very, very green to the game, and he wanted to accuse Scrap, right? Scrap, of all people, right? The most loyal soldier in power history, of being a rat. He goes to Jukebox. He says, yo, Jukebox, Scrap is a rat. I'm going to take care of that situation. Jukebox says, nigga, are you dumb? Scrap is basically family. He's Rock's most loyal soldier. You have absolutely no evidence for what you're talking about. She proceeds to also tell Kanan, yo, listen, speaking of family, this family has secrets, things that you do not want to know about, things that you wish you never heard about. By the way, we have not even begun to uncover what those secrets are in regards to Jukebox and Kanan. And this could also be the reason why they get into their fight that results in Kanan getting his scar. But anyways, Kanan says to Jukebox, I know your secrets too, right? Watch your mouth. Jukebox then looks Kanan in the eye without showing an ounce of fear. She says, you think I'm scared of you, nigga? Storms off. Of course they squash. One of the next times that they have a conflict was right after Kanan shot Detective Howard. Kanan is confiding in Jukebox. Of course, that's his big sister. No one understands Kanan like his big sister. Jukebox looks at Kanan and she says, you think I don't know you, nigga? You shook. You shook. You don't even understand who you are, but it's scary that you already think you know who you are, right? This was once again Jukebox sunning Kanan and telling him like, yo, listen, nigga, I know you. You're not this person who you think that you are, right? And by the end of OG Power, right up until she dies, we can assume that Jukebox always thought she truly knew who Kanan was and what he was capable of. Now, season 2, they definitely had their disagreements, but we're gonna fast forward to season 3, which is the most damning evidence of what is in store for them in season 4, okay? Kanan starts getting involved with Rodney Mathis. Kanan starts getting involved with Pop and Snaps and them. Jukebox, of course, calls them thugsters. Another hint that she'll become a cop in the future, because she looks down on those kinds of people, right? Once they really start moving the heroin, Jukebox, the gangster, who's always been more gangster than Kanan, she barges herself into Kanan's business, storms into the house, about to get into it, right? With Ronnie and Kanan's underlings. You know the whole, Ronnie comes out, he goes, Kanan's cousin, right? They come in. Y'all let me know what y'all think of my Ronnie impression. Kanan's cousin. Goes in right in front of Ronnie's face. She clowns Ronnie. And in the middle of that conversation, y'all know how it goes. She says, so Kanan, what are you up to? What's going on with you and Famous? Is that and third? What are you doing? Y'all know Kanan, his nonchalant. What you think I'm doing, right? I'm living this life, getting this money, right? Jukebox. She says, who are you talking to? She slaps whatever it was in Kanan's hand out of his hand. That's physicality. You have to understand that from a writer's perspective. You can't just go from Kanan and Jukebox having a disagreement and an argument one day, and then the very next time they physically fighting. They had to show an escalation. Every disagreement they have, every argument they have, is slightly more vicious than the next. With Jukebox, right, downing Kanan and sunning Kanan a little bit more than she did the last time. She sunned him to a high level this time, where she said it to his face and in front of Ronnie Mathis. She said, I wiped the snot from your nose, nigga. I know who you are. You still a scared little boy trying to convince his mother that he's a man. And with that being said, storms out. They don't speak. They have their disagreements until the arranged kidnapping of Kanan happens, and they squashed it right before that, in which Jukebox used Kanan as a pawn. Now, with that being said, I want to talk about the possible scenarios that will lead to this huge fight, bloody fight between Kanan and Jukebox, in which he finally puts hands on him. For one thing, I already mentioned that Kanan arranged and used Jukebox as a tool in order to get the message to Rock. The situation that led to Rock pulling up with the money situation leads to Howard, right, and Ronnie Mathis being killed. Jukebox is not gonna like that, right? The next thing, Crystal being pregnant. If it comes out that Crystal is maybe pregnant by another guy, or she's lying to Kanan, and Kanan is too dumb to make her sit down and piss on the stick. If she does something bad to Crystal, right? Let's say if Crystal's her first body, this will cause a big situation between her and Kanan, okay? Right? Nextly, Jukebox finally telling Kanan some kind of secret that maybe he wasn't supposed to be told. Maybe it slipped out in the heat of an argument. This will lead to a physical altercation between Kanan and Jukebox. And how this goes is this. We cannot expect Kanan to just punch Jukebox in the face because she says something. So what's more likely to happen is that Jukebox will hit Kanan first. Kanan will retaliate by pushing her very hard. Something like that. Maybe then he punches her back. We have seen Jukebox hand skills more than we've seen Kanan's. But Kanan is, by biology, bigger and stronger than Jukebox. So it's going to look even. Kanan is likely to get the upper hand on Jukebox. He going to forget who he dealing with. If he finds himself on top of Jukebox's body, this is when we have Jukebox pull out a blade. She's going to cut Kanan. Or, in the even more humiliating situation, what if Jukebox completely blacks out and she's on top of Kanan, pulls out the blade, doesn't realize how far she's about to take it until after she draws blood on Kanan by giving him the scar on his neck. And then she backs away. They don't talk for a minute. Maybe she goes to military school. To the military after that. But I believe that she will go to the military not only after giving Kanan his scar, but also after catching him. We will discuss why Jukebox is a ticking time bomb and will end up killing Crystal in a violent rage due to the fact that she undoubtedly has finished business with her. And not only that, the show has also given us clues that everyone is missing that suddenly reveal to us that the young Jukebox is already far gone. And when I tell you which scene reveals this truth, all you have to do is look in her eyes. And when Jukebox kills Crystal, she will not know that she was in fact carrying Kanan's unborn child, because for all you slow people out there, this is not Sean's mother. Further adding to the growing animosity that has been building between Jukebox and Kanan. This video is going to be yet another banger. So go ahead and like this video and subscribe to the channel so y'all can get this fire every day. And since you know you love this channel, you can support this channel by sending a donation to the Cash App JPeterson91 or blessing your brother with a super thanks right above the comment section in your phone. Thanks in advance. Now without further ado, let's get to it right now, people. So let's break it down like this. As we all are aware of, Season 3 of Raising Kanan, showing us we definitely can look forward to seeing both Crystal and Aisha make a return next season, with both of these women being the love interest of Jukebox and Kanan respectively. Another thing we know is that Crystal went out of her way to make herself Jukebox's mortal enemy. And I don't know about y'all, but to me, to think that Jukebox's beef with Crystal is over is completely, totally, and utterly asinine. Jukebox will become a killer before she enters the police force. Jukebox also was around when Kanan began running around with Ghost and Tommy, because as we all know, she mentioned seeing Ghost come up in OG Power. And the year is currently 1993, as the credits roll during the finale of Raising Kanan Season 3. And since we all know Kanan takes Ghost and Tommy to meet Breeze in 1996, there is a chance Jukebox doesn't even go to the military. Now, I don't know how short a term of service is before you're allowed to go in the military, or when you're allowed to go home from the military. But there is a good chance Jukebox will find a way out. Probably so she can be with Aisha. But since this is Power, we can expect either Aisha or Crystal to inevitably die before season 4 is over. And since Jukebox already seen her first love die, this will not be the way it ends for Aisha. Meaning Crystal will be the one to go, somehow, some way. And if she really is pregnant, then Jukebox might as well work at Planned Parenthood. Let's get one thing straight. Jukebox is a walking time bomb filled to the rim with anger, sorrow, and depression. And at any moment, she's gonna lose control and go overboard with someone. And Crystal is at the top of that list. And let's not also forget that she will likely be having a little bit of friction already with Marvin, being that she will be looking at Marvin as one of the main reasons why her music career isn't working out. And when it comes to Crystal, Jukebox will definitely get even with her. That smoke is still smoking, y'all. And by the way, we don't know who Crystal knows or who her family is. But since she's able to get a group of girls to jump Jukebox in the train station, anything is possible. We could even see a scenario where Kanan denies the baby and Crystal sends a crazy brother or cousin after him, giving Jukebox even more motive to kill and seek revenge. There is a reason we haven't seen these women run the fade yet. And when the fight takes place, or when Jukebox is in a bad enough mood and runs into Crystal, the pregnancy will likely be a secret. So by the time Juke finds out, it'll be too late for the baby, even if Crystal survives the attack, making Kanan resent Jukebox for the rest of his life. It will go both ways. When Juke tells Kanan she got jumped and Kanan still rides with Crystal. And it's partly the reason why he killed her so quickly in OG Power. It's said that when Kanan had Sean, he took his role as a father very serious before being crossed over by Ghost and sent to prison. Could this be the reason as to being because Jukebox took his first child away from him? The signs are written on the wall for Jukebox. Ain't no way she's going another season without killing. Another thing to point out, every season of Raising Kanan, episode 2 always has one of the Thomas family killing someone, and that body causes trouble throughout the season in some kind of way. Season 1, episode 2, Lou kills D-Wiz. Season 2, episode 2, Rock kills Scrappy. And in season 3, episode 2, Marvin kills Sal Baselli. That means in season 4, episode 2, we can expect either Kanan or Jukebox to be next to kill in the second episode of the season. We have seen Jukebox stare Ronnie in the face, curse out killers, beat girls up by herself, She is way more gangster than Kanan. That's undeniable. Marvin's ruthlessness and Rock's attitude combined. And people need to understand that at this point, Jukebox is already gone. Proof of this is during the diner scene between her and Aisha. Just look in her eyes and her face and her seriousness and her calm, cold demeanor as she tells Aisha, no, you're not gonna wait for me when I go to the military. I know I lost you already, Aisha. The despair she shows, even though she still keeps her composure, when she explains how her family is ruining her life and she feels trapped. This woman is already far gone and is trying to leave New York City before she becomes what she would ultimately become anyways. Season 4, they're in prediction now. In this video, we're going to talk about how Jukebox terrified Ghost, Tommy, and Kanan for life after coming home from the military. And I want to stress the point of after, okay? The reason why I want to say that she terrified them for life after she came home from the military is because I feel like from a narrative perspective, the writers will have Jukebox go to the military and have her life further affected, right? After whatever she goes through in the Raising Kanan series, before she leaves, which as far as whatever losses we're going to discuss in the video, and once she comes home after the military, she has even more reason, and she becomes the character who we know and love from OG Power Season 3. This video is going to be a banger. Without further ado, let's get to it. Now, in order to understand and have more reasoning as to why things went this way, we have to first start by asking ourselves what happens to Jukebox during her time in the military that contributed to her being so formidable and troublesome for the boys, in which we will not begin to see until Power Origins. Number one, we have to talk about what Jukebox will go through during her 2 to 4 years in the military, maybe even 6, that turns her into the kind of character that absolutely terrifies Kanan, Ghost, and Tommy once she gets home after the military. First off, she will come home and automatically be the best shooter out of herself, Kanan, and the young Ghost and Tommy. Why? Due to her presumed years of professional training in the military, automatically making her equally as deadly a shooter as any police officers in the area, and definitely the most dangerous person in the streets. We all know people in the streets, most of them got that one hand thing, right, when they shooting, right? Not Jukebox. Jukebox is gonna hold the gun in the best way possible, as we can already tell from the teaser. Plus, she is shown on more than one occasion that she already fights. And we seen that when she beat up the boy from the church who exposed her as being gay, and the girls that Crystal sent to fight her in the train station. And with her being 6 years older than Ghost and Tommy, she will have a clear advantage over them in more ways than one. We're talking about physical and mental. Which brings us to reason number 2. Next, while still focusing on how the military will change her for the worst, she may sustain some kind of injury that forces her to be put on morphine or some other kind of sedative, or someone who she's close to in the military, which leads her to understand how effective it is to gain control over someone's mind and actions. It was never specified whose idea it was to get Tariq hooked on lean and weed, but we may just find out that Kanan was inspired to do this from Jukebox herself. In a situation that could have taken place as far back as the late 90s to early 2000s. Because of the way Ghost and Tommy responded to hearing Jukebox's name in OG Power, Or rather, when it comes to Ghost, when Kanan helped Ghost realize that it was Jukebox who had his son, it's clear that she was very hostile towards them, even if not all of the time. But why, you may ask? It's simple and complicated at the same time. She was simply jealous of the relationship Kanan had with these other people. This hostility grew and grew as she tried in more subtle ways to separate Kanan from Ghost, Tommy, and Breeze. And by that I mean you can expect her to try to sabotage a couple of their situations in order to get Kanan to kill one of them or something like that. And that animosity hit a boiling point one day. I further believe she won't meet the boys until after she comes home from the military, or she won't even really notice them, even if they pop up before she leaves, for the simple fact that they aren't in the story yet. And even if they appeared right now, they wouldn't be around her enough for her to care, as she wouldn't see them as a threat to her and Kanan's relationship. Jukebox will come home to everyone. No, Jukebox will come home for Kanan, making her very controlling, deceptive, and volatile. And the whole time, she will tell herself that she's looking out for Kanan's best interest. This will cause Jukebox to be one of the most terrifying figures Kanan, Tommy, or Ghost has ever seen. And as we go into further speculation as to Jukebox and why she was considered so formidable to Tommy and Ghost, especially someone like Tommy, right? Who called Jukebox a crazy bitch. That means Jukebox has done something that either inspired Tommy to take it to a next level, or she done something that even he wouldn't do. Now, we haven't seen Tommy harm any children. Does Jukebox do that? As far as Jukebox and drugs are concerned, did she forcefully feed somebody some drugs or something, make them have an overdose? She's already known for kidnapping, as we've seen her hold Tariq hostage. Was there a situation where she held someone for ransom, things didn't go the way she wanted it to go, and she did something crazy? Did she murder an entire family in front of Ghost and Tommy? Did she murder an entire family, including someone who was very close to Ghost, Tommy, and maybe even Kanan? What did she do? The kind of theories and predictions that you're not going to hear on any other content channel that does power. And today, we're going to talk about the fact that Jukebox will not be around Ghost and Tommy very long before she leaves for DC. Now, in order to assess this and figure this out, we're going to assess around the time where Jukebox leaves for the military to around the time where she comes home. We also have to factor in the time where Ghost rats, right? And sneakily gets Kanan sent off to prison, because that had an effect on Jukebox too. And by the end of this video, we will know damn near for sure that Jukebox will not be around Ghost and Tommy very long before she leaves for DC, as well as what Jukebox may have had going on in DC that landed her in DC in the first place, right? This video is going to be another banger. Without further ado, let's get to it. All right, now, y'all, let's break it down like this. If the current timeline is 1992, Jukebox stands to return the same year the boys meet Breeze, if our assumptions of them meeting Breeze in 1996 are correct. If Jukebox leaves and this current timeline is 1993, then Jukebox stands to come home around the year after Ghost and Tommy finally begin the next step in their drug dealing careers, after getting closer to Breeze, okay? Jukebox officially went to do the work to become a cop 2 years after Kanan went to prison. You could do your Googles. You go watch OG Power if you don't know what I'm talking about. But real Power fans know. Okay. There's a possible 5 to 7 year window where Jukebox had plenty time to be around Kanan and Ghost and Tommy. But I don't think she spent all her time in Queens once she comes home from the military. For the simple fact that she's not really in the streets like that. Other than the occasional what we'll probably see, which is, robberies and burglaries. She's not having enough business in Queens to even be in Queens. She probably had a phase where she was trying to find herself and figure out what she's going to do with her life. She had to have not been in Queens the whole time for the simple fact that Ghost and Tommy barely spoke about her being around them during their early coming of age years. This means she made a heavy impact on their lives within a very short time. I'm talking about like 1, 2, 3 years max. She did something to terrify these niggas for the rest of their lives. As far as where she could have been in the meantime, I think we will see her try to be a law-abiding citizen and work a regular job before realizing that that life isn't for her. Maybe even she tries to do something with singing again, right? And she will likely end up being in a bind for money and decide to take things into her own hands. Probably bringing Kanan and the boys into some kind of heist. Maybe we will see Jukebox, Kanan, Tommy, and Ghost rob a bank or something like that, right? Something big, something risky, something that's worth the squeeze, right? Because Jukebox wouldn't do it for nothing less. Where she will lose her temper and do something so crazy it scares everyone for life. Also, within that time, she could be going back and forth to DC for a love interest or some other kind of business. Maybe she has a robbery team going on in DC. Maybe she was stationed there at some point during her military background and got familiar with the area, which could have led to her meeting a love interest, right? Something of the sort, right? It will be extremely easy for the writers to make that make sense. She will have some kind of history in DC before Kanan gets sent to prison and later tells her to just leave New York City and become a cop. There's a reason why it was Kanan who told Jukebox to go ahead to DC and become a cop. And there's a reason why she listened. It's because she already had some kind of life in DC. So I believe after she returns from the military and we're getting more into her character within the Power Origins time frame and series, she will be going back and forth between New York and DC. And as far